If you're wondering why I have opted not to turn on the camera for this video, is because I don't want you guys to see me at my lowest, at my worst, with the tears flowing down my eyes, because our friends over at Nintendo, they've done something that's a little puzzling, I want to say, something I was not expecting. And to be honest with you, as much as I do love a good clickbait, this title that got you in here is nothing but potentially the truth and maybe a dark future for the competitive Smash Bros. Tournament. What do I mean by that? Because obviously I don't speak Japanese, neither do you guys, but this is a tweet from Nintendo of Japan that our friend Gyromite over here has basically kind of given the general rundown of what it's referring to in regards to new tournament guidelines. So he says the highlights include limiting the size of registration fees to 200 yen, that would be like 13 bucks USD, limits offline tournament size to 200 entrants or less, sponsor monetization restrictions, no cash prizes. So that is the new tournament guidelines that have hit Japan. Pretty nutty. And you can go ahead and just kind of scroll down and read some of their, actually made a follow-up reply. Let's see. It says, unrelated but still relevant to the tweet, after the launch of the 3DS homebrew, Nintendo hired private investigators to spy on and eventually legally threaten a suspected hacker, eventually approaching him at his home. Stay safe out there. Well, I never heard that story, but that's pretty wild. But I mean, the big end got big money, so they can do what they want. But yo, this is nuts. So some people are pointing out like, hey, can you show me where it says the tournaments are limited to 200 entrants or less? I read it's 200 plus entrance events, just need to get permission. Right, just need to get permission. But I actually looked through the guidelines page that this did come from, and I didn't see like a link for you to apply. So it does beg the question, well, how does one even apply for a license? I mean, I would assume it's a little easier over there in Japan, but nonetheless, it does still raise the questions like, well, how do we do this? So yeah, if you look at the replies, a lot of people too are just like baffled by this. No cash prizes, which doesn't affect Japan anyway, since they have like weird gambling laws and stuff like that. So I think tournament competitions can't do it. See somebody tagging HBox, which we'll get to him later, because I think at the time of this video he has responded. So yeah, this is pretty crazy. But you're probably thinking in the back of your head, well, this just applies to Japan. You know what I mean? I don't live in Japan. I don't have money to go to Japan. I'll just humbly watch and remain a spectator, maybe competitor in my respected region. Well, if your respected region happens to be Europe, apparently they got you too. Apparently the EU tournament community guidelines have also been updated, coming just only like maybe like 6 hours or 7 hours after Japan announced theirs. So that's actually very telling to me that even though at the time of the recording of this video we have yet to get one for North America, if you give it another, I don't know, 7 or 8 hours, I might have to make a follow-up video on this, or we could just assume that it is going to be a worldwide thing and not just limited to Japan and Europe, because honestly, like, why would it be? So yeah, that really sucks. Let's see. Somebody asked, what does this mean? Does this mean events 200 people just can't run anymore, or do they need some sort of an okay from Nintendo? To which Humming replies, they would need an okay from Nintendo by completing a form, which does not exist, like I actually kind of mentioned at the top of this video. Yeah, man, this is tough. This is really, really tough. It's going to put a lot of events, I feel like, in jeopardy. And you're going to see some discourse and backlash from a lot of the community, even to the point where, like, I saw Nintendo was trending earlier, but they were trending for like Mario Wonder. But now I'm just wondering what the hell is going on. All right, now this guy, Andrew, let's just call him Practical TSA. He put up a post that I thought was important to include in this video as well. It says, GG's folks, it was a good run, but he did follow up by saying, by the way, Capcom did this exact same thing for Street Fighter, down to the dumb yearly limits, and backtracked when the community reminded them that it would end tons of events, just saying. So I feel like, yes, that's a very good point to include, but you know, you're gonna have people who think that this was just downright done intentionally to just flat out end Smash Bros competitive events to the scale that it's been enjoyed on up until this point, which granted, it could be the case. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, you know, Nintendo and the Smash Brothers competitive community don't have a tumultuous past as, you know, as recently up until, you know, last year. I'm not going to get into those details. You all know I made plenty of videos about that, but nonetheless, it is a frightening thing to really read when you think about it. Now, obviously, we have a lot of smart people in this community, so I assume that a bunch of loopholes will definitely pop up, or at least people trying to, you know, create a bunch of loopholes. You know, you see the Joe, you know, it's Joe over. You're gonna see a lot of me. This is very early on. I'm making this video very early on in the news process, so you know we'll probably have even more to discuss on the podcast, which comes out every Thursday on Lights Out. Obviously, there could be a follow-up video if the NA guideline video. You know, one thing I'm thinking about, the one that could come for NA is like maybe the guidelines themselves are tailored a little bit more, I don't know, kosher, because I mean, think about it. They've had the Panda Cup. They know that the competitive scene exists over here. There's no shot that, you know, they don't know how much of an effect this could potentially have. But on the other side, it's like, oh man, well, if they don't care about what we're getting or what's happening in Japan, which I would imagine is like their golden market, then I don't know if NA guidelines could have anything specifically keeping them out of what's happening over. I think it's going to be a global thing. We'll see. Hody Swab here, aka IBDW. Doesn't this not only affect us or here at all or majors, unless I'm completely misreading? Wait, what? Oh, I thought he was asking if it doesn't affect Melee or something like that, which I wouldn't be surprised. But Hungry Box Beast, he has you know, he got something to say. It says, Nintendo doesn't like the circuits, doesn't like tournaments bigger than 200 people, now requires splitting a major into a bunch of smaller tournaments, and now we have to take all winners of those smaller tournaments and put them in the winners tournament, but no circuits. For now, this only applies to Japan. Psych! Holy F, they got EU. Take get EU too. They got, I mean, really, if you think about it, they got everyone. Everything right now is happening and just unrolling. Now, one thing to note, I believe, and I'm gonna go and back to this original post, I'm pretty sure that it said that this thing it was announced today, but it takes effect, if I'm not mistaken. I'll go to English doc. If I'm not mistaken, it goes into effect like the middle of November, I think, something like that. So this isn't something that I just released and said, okay, this is happening right now. So events like Port Priority, which shouts to Port, just passed 700 entrants. Ironically, in Seattle, Washington, which is the housing headquarters of Nintendo for North America. It's like, this is so crazy to me. Like, yeah, right here, it's happening in Seattle, Washington. Nintendo's headquarters are located in not Seattle, but Washington, probably like 30 minutes or so away from Seattle. I'm not doxing, this is public information, but I don't know, man. This is a bombshell of news, and it's a lot to take in, and I just wanted to make a video because, as always, I'm eager to know what my community thinks of this new bombshell. Will they revert some of these changes, given like how much a direct influence it's going to have? Do you think there'll be some NA tailored version of it that'll allow tournaments to continue to operate? Because there's a lot of big things. I mean, Genesis just announced, Battle BC just announced for next year, early next year. Like, it is a lot. So let me know if you have any solutions below, and your comments as well. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the vibes, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace. Tragic.